Again, highlighting the deductions. So basically, if you bottom line that, what are you going to work on? A clogged drain or a bad vanity? According to points, okay? Here's another quick example with all the math if you're on the site. If you do grounds running, let's say tire tracks through the development or some erosion is about a 5.6 point deduction. Market appeal litter is about 1.4, and you know every point counts. Now we're going to look at litter for a second to give you a little highlight. Here's the definition out of the Federal Register, and you think you know the definition, but when you read them carefully, it kind of presents a different picture. We're going to highlight that for a moment here. But it says, disorderly accumulation of objects on the property, discarded trash. Well, watch this note here. Judge litter as you would judge the condition of a city park in America. That's what the definition actually says. Which park, which city, right? Then it goes here as a note. Litter that maintenance personnel are collecting and removing during your inspection. It says basically, do not count that as a deficiency, okay? So, with that in mind, it says right there, do not count these as litter. And this is the key one right there for the moment. Okay, we see disorderly, yes, you get litter on the property, but one thing you do, see these people walking around over here? These people are actively picking up litter during the inspection because according to the regulation, if somebody is picking up litter during the inspection, it says do not count it. Okay? So you should always have somebody picking up litter. So a few takeaways really quick. Don't only look at the severity of 1, 2, and 3 where everybody's focused, but look at the area weight, the item weight, the criticalities, and then to prioritize your respectable areas. Most people look at the units, most of the points originally are kind of in the site in systems. Okay? And then the calculation bulletin. I had a couple hands raised, but if you haven't read through the calculation bulletin, that's an extremely important document in the inspection process. And I'm only going to give you a few highlights again. But you had revisions 1, 2.1, down to 2.3. And it says in the regulations, the calculation bulletin supersedes all previous editions of guidance. Basically, this supersedes the software or the Federal Register. It corrects things. So, a couple takeaways. Early days, how many of you might think that HUD React inspection was no common sense sometimes, right? No common sense? There you go. Well, before they told us we weren't allowed to have common sense, basically, just do what you're told. Well, in the calculation bulletin, they did put it into the regulation. We are allowed to have common sense now, okay? Before we weren't, now we are. It says we're supposed to use sound, practical, prudent judgment. Now watch this. Based on HUD's physical inspection training, and trained by HUD, and our experience, whatever that means, okay? Then it says professional common sense, watch this, is to be applied in conjunction with REACT guidance. So if you're having, let's say, issues with appeals and stuff, what you do is copy and paste this verbiage, and you say, well, common sense would dictate this. But you got to know where these things are at. You can download that document as well off the HUD website. A couple other things, again, common sense approach, the judgment of the inspector. We're allowed to do that. Most inspectors shy away from that because they don't want to be called out of standard, and won't spend much time. But this is an example of common sense on a ride. I was on an inspection in Puerto Rico. We're talking about penetrating vegetation. Okay? And the calculation bulletin, remember, supersedes the definition. In the calculation bulletin, it says, does the overgrown vegetation adversely affect, or does it not adversely affect, okay, on penetrating vegetation? And that's a site hit. So, let's say, is that creating damage? Yes, common sense. Is that creating damage? Yes, common sense. But, does it obstruct the path? Yes. Penetrating vegetation. But, would you think this is penetrating vegetation? Probably not. Neither would I. I normally wouldn't mark that. But I was on this site after being QA'd, and we're going to get into that right now. This shot's down in Puerto Rico. The place was meticulously landscaped, and I'm walking by here, and HUD Quality Assurance tells me I missed this deficiency, that's blocking the path. And I'm like, what are you talking about, blocking the path? He says that. And I was totally confused, but he wanted me to mark it down so that's a major site hit. And I'm like, we got a big debate. So after the inspection, and here's another shot of just that branch underneath the path there. Basically, that's not adversely affecting anything, correct? And here's that common sense thing. So here we are, me, HUD Quality Assurance, on the phone with DC to the head of Quality Assurance, debating the protocol. Because I didn't want to write it up, but he wanted to potentially write me out of standard for not listening. That's the pressure react inspectors are underneath. And so we're looking at this, and we're on the phone live with this guy in DC. And I'm saying, hey, Mr. QA, is that a deficiency? And then the wind starts blowing, right? Then the wind starts blowing the other direction, and it goes all the way back there. And I'm like, okay, when is it a deficiency or not? And you know what the answer is? It all depends which way the wind's blowing sometimes, correct? So that's what you have, and that's when we get into this class where we're not only HUD REACT certified from basically day one of the program, besides the training or the trial run, but we've been inspecting about 14 years. Allie, I can't even tell you, 1,700 inspections, 35,000 units or whatever. Like, you got to take the practical every day and apply it to the training. So when I'm back to this slide, when I get back to this inspection, in the back of my mind, if I don't, if you will, stand up against quality assurance, I may mark that down. Even if quality assurance isn't on your site, the inspector has this in his head, if you will, because he's kind of afraid not to mark it. You follow me? A few other quick takeaways out of the compilation bulletin. One key thing is you need to provide access to whatever. Windows, electric panels. If you do not provide access, we're not allowed